Sorry, I accidentally turned my phone off. But I wanted to say something about that. What Mark Schlereth was talking about. The amount of money these players make now. I mean, the stadiums are bigger. The stadiums are nicer. Fans are much more involved. I mean, you can watch football on TV, on your phone, on YouTube. You can watch it on the internet. I mean, you could go to an actual game. You know, they have so many events throughout the year where, you know, fans could go meet the players, and that, I guess, gets them much more engaged, which makes them want to spend more money. I would say that the exposure that the NFL has is driving up the ticket prices, which is, you know, increasing the amount of money that they're able to make versus the money that they're able to pay their players. I mean, the NFL is doing a good job of marketing this league. They're doing a great job, but you need the talent to be able to market this thing. I cannot stand it when players and former players sit back and they act like the NFL is doing 100% of the work and all they got to do is just show up and play. I think the players, I think it's been far too long that they have gone without the right to do certain things or the right to take credit for where the league is now. I mean, shit, the black players alone, man. I mean, when you look at basketball, predominantly some of the greatest basketball players in the history of the game, like shit, out of the top 50, like 45 of them were black players, man. Like, and we need to take more credit. We take a lot of responsibility. We need to take a lot of the credit for our phenomenal ability to be able to play the game. Like, I wouldn't consider myself to be an athlete, man, but when I was in high school, I was pretty good, but you know, I didn't have the focus that some of these other guys did. They got them to where they are. But I was just naturally gifted. I was naturally athletic. Fast as hell. Strong as hell. Really skinny, but really strong. I never worked out a day in my life. Never ran track, nothing. Never worked out until I made the football team. And then, I don't know. So we need to take more credit for our ability to play the game. Our charismatic, I don't know. I just believe that the players, they need to take a step into the forefront, and they need to allow themselves to be appreciated, or you know. But I don't know. Like, I'm trying to explain it, but I'm trying not to. You know, like, I'm trying to watch what I say, you know, but I do think that the players, they need to take, you know, they need to take the credit for a lot of where the league is now. Because it's like what one of the sports analysts said, players win the game. Even Belichick says it. Players win the game. They win the game, but they also promote the game. They make the game worth watching. They make the fans want to watch it. Do you think people are watching NBA games because of Adam Silver? Do you think people are watching football games because of, you know, Roger Goodell? Like, I don't know, man. I don't like this whole, you know, you sit back in the back seat while you're doing most of the work and let these motherfuckers who don't really do much of anything as far as promoting the league take all the fucking credit. But, you know, it is what it is.
Your identity is in what you do for a living. When that gets taken away from you, you know what? You're going to struggle. It's just fact. You're going to get pink slipped, outsourced, whatever the case may be. Downsized, cut, you will struggle. But if your identity isn't in, I'm a football player, if that's not how you identify, then you can go on and do whatever you want to do. So good for the league, good for Luke Kuechly. This is a great to me. It's great for the league.
Tagging along with what you just said, and I completely agree, I think this is good for the NFL because this isn't a bad sign. It's a sign of the times. Look, we're a woke culture now. Everybody's more aware than they were 20 years ago. I mean, when you were starting out in 89, everybody had styrofoam cups. You know what I mean? We were sipping out of plastic straws. I just stayed last night in Beverly Hills. I wouldn't be caught dead with a plastic straw. I mean, you would be castigated in the streets. It's not the right thing to do anymore. It's because we're all aware of consequences now. And sometimes, even for the greatest gifts, like the NFL and the pride that it serves communities with, and some of these players and how they serve their teams and their teammates, we understand there is a consequence attached. So if you're going to play this game at an elite level like Luke Kuechly did for so many years, and you're going to benefit so greatly from the sport and the sport benefiting from your hard work as well, walking away at the right time, I think serves the NFL correctly, because we're not going to read about how he went broke. We're not going to read about how he is broke. We're going to read about how he improved his life even beyond the game, and in turn, improved the game.
Yeah, I got to hop on board with all of you and say I think it's great for the NFL. I think that it's a teachable moment, I think, for a lot of young players in the sense of you should realize, like, make as much money as you can, take care of that money so that you're not beholden to the NFL for longer than your body will allow. And so I know a little bit about Luke Kuechly because he's from Cincinnati, Ohio. My brother, my nephews go to the high school, St. Xavier, that Luke Kuechly went to. I know how that school, it's a private Catholic school. I know how they prepare young men, not just as athletes, but for participation in all of society, and how they try to build young men. And so I look at football, and it's like we love, and a lot of people love to say the NBA is the greatest thing in the world. But I look at football and how it basically requires you to go to college and experience some form of a higher education. Or how much you invest in it is up to you. But I look at Luke Kuechly from St. Xavier to Boston College.
Look, I gotta say this. I don't think that the NFL requiring players to go to college has anything to do with education. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm gonna say this: college football makes a shitload of money every single year, and I wouldn't be surprised. Which I believe this is how it works. The NFL, they look out for college football. You know, make sure that these players, they stay for at least 3 years. You know, and they get as much out of their talent as they possibly can. I mean, there are some fucking colleges that are making fucking, what was it? I think tens, hundreds of millions every single season. Some players said that shit. But because they were talking about how they make the colleges a shitload of money, but they don't get anything in return. You know, which a scholarship really isn't much because you still have to work to pretty much support yourself. I don't know, but yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL requires you to stay in college for a certain amount of time because it helps them out. It's just like the NBA and the WNBA, where they're paying for everything for them. They're costing the NBA money, but they're still shelling out money, fucking supporting their league. You know, so I don't know. So I wouldn't throw a fucking halo on the NFL like, oh, they're worried about young guys. They're worried about their education. They're worried about their life after football. Okay.
The NFL, this guy is making this decision not just because he has the wealth to move on, but because he has the intellectual wealth. He's been developed as a full person, and he can think of something else to do beyond football. Sure. This is a great story and should be role modeled for other NFL players.
Yeah, there are two sides to this coin, and I won't gloss over the other side of the coin, which is basically an example. Your NFL career is like you taking a conscious last hold of breath and going underwater for those treasures. And then
I think part of the reason why Luke Kuechly retired at 28 is because the Carolina Panthers, besides that one season where they went 15-1 and got to the Super Bowl and lost because the offense couldn't score anything, I think that Luke Kuechly is kind of tired of it. I mean, he is playing at an all-pro level every single year. He's putting his team the best he can in position to win, and this team is just constantly failing. year after year. You had a stud quarterback in Cam Newton who showed signs of greatness, but couldn't keep his shit together. He's all over the place with the way his mind works, that he's not stable enough to lead your team consistently. This team has so much turnover. You fire a head coach in Ron Rivera, who I don't believe deserved to be fired, but he was fired anyway. I mean, there was a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit going on in Carolina, and to be honest, I think Carolina has some of the worst. What do you call it? They have some of the worst management in the NFL. I mean, they spent the last week talking about Cincinnati. I think Carolina is somewhere around there, man. Because for this team to have the players that they do, like a Luke Kuechly, a Cam Newton, now they got a Christian McCaffrey. Before they had Jonathan Stewart and what's the other kid's name? D'Angelo Williams. I mean, they've had some great talent here. But I don't know. There was always something missing with Carolina. There was always something missing, and I just felt like the management. I felt like management never really put this team, as far as drafting, as far as signing free agents. I don't think, or trading. I don't think they ever put this team in a position to be competitive. Now they were competitive in 2015. They were competitive. But Cam Newton had an outstanding year. He pretty much carried that offense, while Kuechly carried that defense. But I think management in Carolina is a problem, to be honest.
Realize Luke Kuechly did in 8 years and some others in 5 years, 10 years. It's time to come up for air. Because it's hell under there. It's hard to play football. Basketball is a better job. Basketball is not a better business necessarily in totality, but to the individual, some would say it is. But the game, the job, there are 40 surgeries up here combined, minimum, I think. Mark, you 27 in?
29.
29 in, I'm 10.
I've had four,
okay.
five.
And all I wanted to let people know is...
I had one.
You had one? There you go. Add it up, but... It's all with love. And I think it's conditional love, and that's okay. I think there's so many times we were told as kids that if you don't love football wholeheartedly, something's wrong with you. You don't have to have unconditional love for the game. There are conditions. One of the conditions for Luke Kuechly was, I have had enough of these concussions and whatever it can do to compromise me going forward. And I respect that.
I love this conversation because, it's timely. We just saw 2 videos. One where Kuechly sat in front of his camera in his linebacking room and he addressed the fan base and the ownership and his teammates and really all of the membership of the NFLPA, former players in Kern, and said, I've done enough. I've done all I could. And tearfully stepping away from his post in the middle of that defense. We've seen another video this week of a talented Hall of Fame probable wide receiver shouting from his doorstep at the mother of his children, fighting to get back into this same league in Antonio Brown. Both of these guys have suffered head trauma. One of these stories feels like it's going to end poorly. One of these stories feels like it's going to end well. I think it is a very difficult decision to make, but you have to know when it's your time to leave.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure.
Sorry, but Rich said it best, and I don't think I could have said it any better myself. I mean, I think this is why this is a good thing for players, and this is a good thing for young players to know coming into the league that once you have enough, just walk away. Prepare yourself the best you can while you're in college and when you get to the league for life after football. Because you kind of got to take an approach that Dave Chappelle took, where he set a standard, he set a limit, he reached that limit, and he gave it up at one point. But that's the way that you're supposed to carry yourself, man, because football is an unforgiving game. It does not love you back. People love this game for a long time, and it does not love you back. So I mean, congratulations to Luke Kuechly. Hopefully, his concussion issues aren't so extensive that it affects his life after football. I mean, it would break my heart to turn on my TV one day and see that Luke Kuechly did something to himself because of the head injuries. Because that's what happened to Steve McNair. That's what happened to Junior Seau, apparently. So hopefully, I mean, he lives a wonderful life after this. And, if he has kids, if he has a wife, I mean, I just hope the best for him. But that's it.